Good Boy is a 2025 indie horror movie from the perspective of a dog named Indy. Indy's the best part of the movie. He's a very good little dog actor. They do some relatively long shots where he's on screen the whole time, and it's pretty impressive they can get him to behave the way that they do and how expressive his little furry face is. He is indeed a good boy. I don't think even Hassan Piker would want to hurt him.
America, Kaya, please just fucking go. Just stop.
Overall, I think the movie does atmospheric horror really well. It's kind of a slow burn, not a lot of jump scares. They do some really cool things with the camera work, where a lot of it's very low to the ground. The humans' faces are kind of hidden. There's some neat little horror shots, things that are very relatable if you're a dog owner, where your dog is just staring in the corner and you're like, what are you doing? I thought the weakest parts of the movie were the humans. This might be due in part to a lot of their lines being ADR. I'm guessing that they couldn't have them talk on screen with the dog because it might have distracted him from his commands. I don't know. That's just how it seemed. And my only real complaint about the horror element would be that it kind of wants to have its cake and eat it too, with it being metaphorical and kind of matching the themes and being a dream sequence, and there being actual weird mud monster things. To me, it seemed like the monster thing had to be real because you have some lines of dialogue about the mutilated body of the grandpa in the house, and there are physically things happening. But if you want to be really charitable and insistent that it's all metaphorical, you could say the dog is an unreliable narrator, maybe an incomprehensible narrator would be a better word for it. But it's only an hour and like 10 minutes. Super easy watch, pretty good overall. Obviously not perfect, but you can have a lot more leeway with a movie that probably costs $500,000 as opposed to one that costs $500 million. So let's just get into it. The main premise of the story is that Todd has a terminal illness. He's not doing well. He wants to take his little dog Indy out to a house that their grandpa was owned. We hear his sister say it was haunted and spooky. They've got some old home videos there. And as Todd's illness gets worse, he eventually is trying to volunteer for experimental treatments and gets denied. He gradually gets less and less pleasant to be around to Indy. One of the main themes of the movie is kind of a commentary on blind loyalty. Obviously, dogs are man's best friend. They're super loyal to their owners. But by the end of the movie, you realize that Indy needs to let go and that their relationship has run its course and that his loyalty is actually detrimental to him by the end. And the commentary on Indy's loyalty, or the loyalty of a dog, or loyalty in general, is really the heart of the movie. There's not a ton of dialogue, and the dialogue that we do get is very stilted, very weird sounding. It almost sounds like a dub that someone who doesn't speak English was doing, but in English. Very strange. But there's some really cool shots. There's a point where Todd is watching an old home movie with the grandpa and the grandpa's dog Bandit, and Indy gets distracted by a spooky thing in the house, and Bandit also gets distracted by a similar thing on the TV. It's a pretty neat little shot. There's a lot of your kind of slow zoom in to the darkness, what is he seeing type of things. There's a couple questionable decisions, like where Todd takes Indy to the doctor with him so that we can hear all this exposition and dialogue about how he's terminal and he's definitely dying, which I thought was pretty obvious from the beginning of the movie. There's different parts where he's doing sort of homeopathic stuff. He's bleeding. He's talking to his sister and she says he's not doing well. So it just kind of felt unnecessary to me. It also kind of breaks the immersion a little bit because 90% of the movie is in this isolated home or the woods around it. So it's like a weird juxtaposition with the hospital. There's a couple little jump scares, not really my thing, but they weren't excessive. They didn't really abuse the volume of the movie or anything like some jump scares do, where they try to just force you to react by having a sudden loud noise. It's just the most low effort, startling nonsense that I'm not a fan of. I think the two ways that you can interpret this movie are that everything is sort of metaphorical from Indy's perspective. His owner is becoming someone he doesn't recognize, who's scary and mean and abusive to him. We actually do see Todd get a little bit shitty with him as the movie goes on. And the other way that you could take it is that there's actually something haunting the house and you don't really know what it is. It's kind of a weird thing. And I'll be honest, I still can't tell which is the correct answer by the end, because there are things like doors opening. You know, we do see an old skeleton from Bandit, the previous dog for the grandpa. It seems like things are actually happening in the world. So to me, it makes more sense, probably if it's a mixed bag, honestly. but I could easily see taking it as just metaphorical. And that's kind of my biggest gripe with it, is that there should have been a little bit more clarity there, I think. And I've listened to a few people discuss the movie and they all kind of seem split as well. But overall, really neat movie. Very simple but effective premise to have a dog be your main character. I like that they put the effort in to have the camera low and follow them around, that they hide the actors' faces. So you're not really getting a lot of just direct looks into his face. You get some pretty neat shots, like where it zooms into Indy's eyeball and there's a monster there. The one I mentioned before on the TV, there's some where the camera just stays still and Indy goes in and out of screen a couple of times and seemingly hits his marks, which is pretty cool. Just the meta aspect of being able to train a dog that well. He's a very pretty little dog, super expressive face. And I thought as far as dogs go, he nailed it. But I'm not going to keep rambling on about this one. I would definitely recommend it. It's always nice to see a good little indie movie, pun intended. And an hour and 10 minutes is like a godsend when you're comparing it to shit like One Battle After Another that lasts like 3 hours and feels like about 3 months, and every other self-indulgent movie that has like 3 third acts. But I'm gonna leave it there for this one. If you've seen it, let me know what you think. Try to respond to the comments that aren't just insults. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks.